Now that the PK concentration and specimen collection files have been mapped and loaded, to generate the dose proportionality exploration plot and the PK response exploration plots, we now need to map and load the stacked PK source data file. One thing to note here is that the PK response exploration visualization will only appear if the resource data has also been added and the user has oncology permissions to view that data. So to add the stacked PK, click Add, select the data type, which is stacked PK results, enter the file path manually, which is Azure file, and this one is stacked underscore PK. PK underscore 1, click OK. This now presents you with the mapping table for stacked PK results. There's a couple of things to note on here again, that there are mandatory and non-mandatory fields to be mapped. The other thing is that the table allows both the nominal dose to be captured, and that is captured in treatment protocol dose, the nominal dose, but you can also capture the actual dose administered in the actual dose administered field, which is here. One thing to note is also about visit date. So any dates, again, you need to select the appropriate aggregation function to represent how the date is represented in your source data file. However, this date is not actually presented in the visualization in VA Hub. So although it's entered, it won't be presented on the front end, but the visit date is captured from the specimen collection mapping. So if you ensure that your visit date is mapped and loaded in your specimen collection file, the visit date will be represented there. So if we start mapping our columns here, we have study, part, subject. We now have visit date. And as mentioned, we need to select the appropriate aggregation function. In this case, it's month first, date assembler month first, visit number, visit name, so treatment protocol dose, as mentioned earlier, is the nominal dose which you can capture, and this is protocol dose in my file. Treatment schedule is a non-mandatory field. I'm not going to populate that. Treatment cycle, I have that in my data file. Parameter, this is the actual PK parameter. Analyte, which is a mandatory field. Now, parameter value is true, so we need to enter that. So that's PK parameter value. And the unit is also mandatory, and this is to make the data more meaningful when you're actually looking at the data. Protocol schedule in this case is non-mandatory. I'm not going to map that. Protocol schedule start date, so I will map that one. And then the other thing to note is that the remaining mandatory fields are not visible on the are not presented in the visualization in VA Hub. So you can populate these, but none of these will be presented in VA Hub. The actual administered dose is, and I have that, so I'm going to put that one, actual dose given. So just to note that none of these in the PK stacked file will be presented in the visualization. Click confirm to check that these mappings are okay. Just check that I have my aggregation function, just double checking I've got my source data columns populated properly, and I'm going to click save. And as you can see again, the mappings have saved successfully, so I can click OK. Now that we've successfully mapped the PK stacked PK results, we can go on to load this data. Again, clicking on the review the data setup option in the menu, ensure that the radio button is checked for confirming that the data is correct. Click finish. Do you want to upload your data? Click yes. As it loads your data, it brings you back into the Admin UI homepage. You can then give it a couple of minutes or so to actually load, and click on View Data Load Report. So as you can see, this needs refreshing. I'll click refresh. And we can see that the data file for PK stacked data has been loaded successfully. It's completed successfully. If I click on that, it then presents me with the tables below. There's nothing in the exception report, which is as expected. Source data column is telling me that my stacked PK result file has loaded correctly. I have my source data fields. So if we find so we can see here our stacked PK results, that the mappings are okay, and we have nothing in the source data value report, which is as expected. So we have successful mappings of our mapping and loading of our stacked PK results. Now that we've mapped and loaded our stacked PK data, we can now check in VA Hub whether or not any of the other visualizations have been populated. If the oncology RECIST data has been mapped and loaded, we should also see the PK response exploration plot. But if not, we should definitely see the dose proportionality exploration plot. So if you select your drug program and the data set, click Start Analysis, select the dosing and exposure view, and you can see, in addition to the analyte concentration over the time, we now have dose exploration, proportionality exploration plot. But as you can see, we don't have a tab for PK response exploration, and this is because this could be for two reasons. One, it could be because the data has not been mapped and loaded, and two, it could be because the data has been mapped and loaded, however the user does not have permissions to view the oncology package, and therefore this tab will not be visible. In this case, it is because the data has not yet been mapped and loaded.